Hi. In this episode I'm going to take a look at georeferencing in QGIS. So georeferencing, that is the term that is used inside QGIS, and there are other terms, georectifying, orthorectifying, and they formally mean different things, but what I mean here is that I'm going to take an image of a map and try to place it on the correct location on Earth. And depending on the similarities between the picture and the chosen projection, that will be more or less difficult. But I will try to do a pretty simple first demonstration, and then I will try something a bit harder. Let's see how it works out. I tried this on a different computer, so let's see how it works out on this one. So I have downloaded a photo from, let's see if I have it here, from Wikipedia. That is supposed to be open source, so I can use it. It's a pretty simple area that is not in a weird transformation or a projection or something like that. So it should be pretty straightforward for us to use. I am using OpenStreetMap as a background to reference the image to, and that also means that my projection in QGIS is set to pseudo Mercator. This is okay. I've found that it's easier if you use the same projection in your project as you are using to georeference against. So if you want your new georeferenced map to be in pseudo Mercator, your project should also be in pseudo Mercator. I also downloaded some layers from OpenStreetMap, so it would be easier for me to try this in a different projection. So that is also a possibility. Okay, georeferencing. That is a built-in plugin, but it's not activated as default. But you need to go to the plugin manager and activate it. So it's the Georeferencer, and it is using GDAL to do the referencing. So just activate it and close it. Then you will then find it under the raster menu as a Georeferencer. And as a default, it will open in a separate window. And if you, for instance, have a super wide screen or dual monitors, this is probably the best way. Just put the georeferencer on your second monitor. However, if you are like me in this case, you have a full HD monitor, but a single one, you can also dock this in the GUI. So let's see. Configure georeferencer. Here you can check this box, show georeferencer window docked. This will have some consequences because some of the keyboard shortcuts in the georeferencer also exist in the QGIS program. So for instance, if you use Ctrl-D to remove layers, that will not work. So you need to do other shortcuts for instead of some of those. But I'll show you later what I mean. So you can also activate to show ID points, point IDs. I usually like to do that. You could show coordinates if you're working with coordinates when you are georeferencing. For instance, if your raster map that you are referencing have coordinates on them, that could be helpful. You can do some other settings as well. I'll leave it at that. Okay. The first, okay, let's see. If I restart it, will it be docked? No, will not. Settings, configure. Okay. There we go. So, here we have it. I usually dock it to the left, like that. And more or less split the screen. And I have my QGIS map to the left and my referencing area to the right. If you don't use the table here, you can minimize it or even turn it off. And I guess you can turn it on again by a right click like that. The first thing I need to do is to load up the raster. Where did I put that one? In georeference folder, Vatican City, open. And here I need to tell what target coordinate system I will be using. And in this case, as I mentioned, I will be using the same target coordinate system as I have in my project. I have found that that's the least trouble that way. Like that. Now, this window, I can use the same tools to pan and zoom as in the map window. And the first thing I usually do is try to find just 2 corresponding points in my map. And I think there's a tower here. That's also here. And the way this works is that we have the tools to add point, delete point, and move points. And I will add a point in the center of this tower. There. That opens a dialog that I can type in the exact coordinate if I have it, or I can click this button to pick it up from the map canvas. So I click on the center of the tower there, and that will copy those coordinates to the fields in the dialog. Like that. On the other side, let's find another point that is more or less the same. I suspect this is actually the same data to start with, so there should be good correspondence. For instance, this corner here should be about there. And there. Okay. I need to add my IDs again, like that. Okay. So now I have 2 points. And since this map is more or less the same, I can do a very, very simple transformation for this. That is linear. And depending on the correspondence between your map to be referenced and the map you reference against, you may need to increase this transformation type. and it will also require more referencing points. I think that's it. Linear, nearest neighbor, and the target reference system should be that one. The file name for the results, no compression, and I want to load it into QGIS when I'm done. Okay. Now I have two buttons here, and if I activate them, the maps will be linked. So anything I do here in this window will mirror to the other one. So this is great when I continue to create my reference points. So for instance, there's probably the obelisk in St. Peter's Square. Should be a given one. There. There. Okay. And now we start to see in the table here the residual error. And since this is a really simple map to reference, the residual error is pretty small. And the accuracy in my clicks are also something that needs to be considered. Let's put one here as well. There. And there. Okay. That seems to work. To put this on the map and do the actual georeferencing, there's a play button. And for this to work, we need to have made our settings in the transformation settings. But this should be okay. So let's run it. And there we go. We have the map. And maybe make it a little bit transparent. Like that. Seems to work. And if I found when I did it something that was wrong, for instance, I need to add a point up here, I can still do that. So just remove this layer, and normally I would have used Control D. But that doesn't work. So I need to remove layer like that. That is the keyboard shortcut that doesn't work anymore. So I can add a point there. There. Okay. That's it. And then I just run it again. And there we go. Okay. When I'm done, I can just close the georeferencer. If I don't want to save my referencing points, create a report or something like that. Nope, I don't want to save it. One thing, this panel is still present even if I closed it. So I can just georeferencing panel like that, turn it off. And there I have my map. So let's try something a bit more difficult. Turn that off. And I think I had georeferencer panel, turn on, reset. Okay. Never mind this picture. I don't know why it's still there, but it's not there, but it still hasn't been cleared from the cache or whatever. So let's try. No, I'll go for UK. I still want to do it to sudo Mercator. Let's see if that works. It's pretty good. Correspondence. The same thing here. Go to a location that is reasonably corresponding. Add a point. Like that. And then we should be able to activate the links. And let's try just run this as it is. And here we see there are some discrepancies. So maybe a point down here. Let's see if we can find something. Well, there. Like that. And then we see a graphical representation of the residuals. So in the table you have it in numbers, but on the map you will see it graphically like that. So let's add something on Ireland. There. There. Okay. And when you are starting to get larger numbers for the residuals, that is an indication that there might be some problems in your upcoming transformation. And to mitigate that, you can add more points, reference points. Is that one? No, not there. There. One there. And if we try this again, it's still a linear transformation. So the only thing it tries to do is to scale and rotate, which we can see here, it doesn't really fit. There are some problems. So another way is to increase the transformation complexity. So instead of linear, we can make it Helmert. I don't really know what that is, but let's make it polynomial. Polynomial. With a low number. Let's try that. And now we should see some improvements when we run it, hopefully. Yeah, maybe not. I'm doing this really quick and dirty, so not sure. Okay, now we see a difference. In polynomial 1, you see the residual pixels. Okay, do this. They have some large numbers, like 11 here. But if I increase it to another level of transformation. Oh, that was too much. The residuals will be much lower. So now if I run it, I may get better correspondence. Yes, I did. Much better. So this process, you can just repeat it and add points, remove points, move points with the tools up here until you are satisfied. And the file is already saved, so all you have to do is just close the georeferencer when you're done. Like that. And then you have your new layer. So, what if? Let's see if I can find a file manager. What if? Let's go to geodata, georeference. We have a Winnipeg map that is not pointed towards north. Why did I open in GIMP? That's unnecessary. Like that. Up in the top right corner, we see a north arrow. So this is oriented in a different way. Well, if I were doing this the same as before, I would probably rotate this map first. Because that will make it easier. I have no idea about the coordinate system for this map. I could assume it's pretty flat and what do you call it? Angular correct. So it shouldn't be too much problem. But when I come upon these old types of maps, the georeferencer will probably run into some issues. And that's why I will try to use an alternative plugin for that. I'm not that... I haven't used this a lot, so this will be a bit of an experiment. The freehand raster georeferencer. So activate that. You need to install it as well because it's not installed in the core. And it will add a toolbar. And I'll push that. Let's go to Winnipeg first. Where is Winnipeg? Why don't I know that? Use map. Winnipeg. No, I'm completely wrong. It's in Canada. There we go. Winnipeg. I'm sorry. Here we go. Winnipeg. And if I turn back to the map. It's about this area. Yeah, it's about this area. Let's add it. So we add Winnipeg, add, and I get an error. I don't know why, but the map will be added anyway. And we can increase and decrease the transparency, so it's above our referencing map. So the first thing I can see is that I need to rotate it. So there's a button for rotate. And maybe there. We can move it up there. And I need to scale it. The scale is a bit finicky because it scales in X and Y, and I don't know how to lock that. This is actually not that easy. Let's rotate it some more. That's pretty good. Yeah, for a quick and dirty referencing, that is actually pretty good. What you need to do after that, you need to export it with a world file. So let's name it ref. Put rotation in world and okay. Sure, why not? Let's try it. And then I need to add it. Geodata, reference. Edit that one. Yep. Yeah, it did work. So, like that. Set the transparency for that. Apply, okay. And there we go. Quick and dirty georeferencing with a plugin. If I wanted to, I could use this as step 1 and then go into the georeferencer and complete it to make it more detailed referencing. Anyway, that is one way to, or two ways to how you can georeference imagery or scanned maps or whatever. And hopefully that will help you in your endeavors to georeference your scanned maps or photos. And see you next time.